All right, everybody, it's Coach Bronson, and today I have the fantastic Robbie Moyles on. Robbie is a over 50 CrossFit Games athlete who's finished. You were finished you number 9, top 10 at the
Yes.
games. Yep.
Yep.
So you have a very interesting journey of nutrition, of fitness, of changing your body, changing your life, and what you're doing on the fitness side of things. I'd love to hear a little bit more about you, Robbie, and just what got you into this whole lifestyle of being a physically independent, very capable. Obviously, if you can compete at the games, capable, I don't think is even the right word. Um, person.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about yourself first. Really, like how did you kind of just get into fitness in general? Let's start with the basics.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on your show. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. It's really great to be able to share experiences, and maybe there's somebody out there that is contemplating either starting CrossFit or starting weightlifting or some kind of program or some
Hmm.
eating thing change. And I can tell you, I gotta I gotta show you. This right here. If you see all these pages right here,
Yeah.
this is a documentation of my health from in my early 20s into my 50s. I'm actually going to be 58 in a couple of weeks, or in
Wow. That's awesome.
wait, 58. Um, and the whole purpose of the journey of health and everything has always been with me my whole life pretty well. Um, I've always wanted to be an athlete. I remember when I was really, really young, watching the Olympics and feeling so compelled that I would want to, or have this desire of this feeling that I'm going to be in a athletic environment.
Hmm.
Um, I grew up in the 70s, in the early 70s in Newfoundland, which is the last province east of Canada. And back then, there wasn't a lot of opportunity for girls to participate in sports. There was hockey and baseball and, the regular sports, but girls weren't allowed to play sports. So I never really had an opportunity to be an athlete in school or when I was young, unfortunately. I did a little bit of gymnastics, but I was too big. Like,
Okay.
what do you be? You just see my shoulders coming. It's the Robbie on her shoulders, right? But too big, so I never really fit in. So when I got into high school, actually, I did some weightlifting, and there, I didn't know it at the time, but when I was like 15 years old, I was benching some heavy weight, and I didn't even
Yeah.
know what. We were just in this old rickety gym in the back of the school, in the gym with the equipment, and I started lifting with this lady who was, at in the 80s, there was not a lot of ladies lifting, and it was basically powerlifting, just some weightlifting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she do some basic lifts, and I was surprised at how strong I was, at 15 years old. I was just freaky strong. I was benching, 225 to 250 when I was 15 years old, like
Wow.
crazy
Awesome.
strength, crazy. Uh, and I never. I just did that very briefly, and then I went off to university, and did my thing, and never really got into fitness at all. I just didn't really have the opportunity. I had the will for it, but like a lot of people, you have what it takes, but you don't
Right.
want to do it. Right. So there was things going on in life, when you're young and you're working and all that kind of stuff. And then you married and children and whatnot. So I never really had an opportunity, even though I had this deep, deep connection to being an athlete, like to
Hmm.
be elite athlete, whatever that meant for me, to be the best athlete I could be. I always had that right from when I was watching those Olympics on a black and white screen.
That's
Uh,
crazy. It's
yeah,
crazy how little things as a kid
I'll
would
never
just
forget
get ingrained. For me, that was the military. I think I was 9 years old when I
it.
first told somebody that I was going to join the army.
You just know.
Right. I just knew like, and that's what I did. I graduated high school. I went right to the recruiter's office and joined the army. Like there was never a question in my mind and at all growing up that I wasn't going
Well,
to be in the army.
that's really great. And for me, there was always the question because I never had an opportunity. I say I never had the opportunity, but nor did I ever take it upon myself to make
Mm,
that happen for
mhm.
myself. I was really sick. Okay,
Yeah.
I just never had. I in my 20s, after I finished university and stuff, I went vegan. I was vegan for about 10 years, in and out of
Okay.
vegan, lacto ovo, and then all this different kinds of
All the
veganism.
different labels of vegan.
Yeah, which set me up which got me to here, which got me to the game. Okay, so big stones. Um, but health, like I said, go back to the health. It's always been really important to me, and so never had that opportunity. And then I went through a divorce, and going from having access to life to really being on a budget. And I didn't, there were times when it was like I didn't know. If I never went to a gym, I couldn't afford a gym membership, so I could afford a pair of running shoes.
Yeah.
So how I started off this thing where I knew like I had something in me, but I don't know what it is. And I was in and out of a couple of bad relationships, so that kind of stuff. So I'm getting this will to maybe I can walk and maybe I can run. Now, by this time, I had really bad feet, like Sally Norton, who had oxalate, issues with her feet. I by
Yep.
that time issues with my feet. So what I would do, and I was probably, I mean, I definitely was malnutrition. There's no doubt about that,
Right.
and my body composition, and I was definitely overweight. But what I did was I would, when I had the time, say if the kids were at hockey or whatever, I would go for a walk, and I would walk one light pole and lightly jog to
Hmm.
the, and then eventually it became I run or jog lightly two light poles and walk one.
There you
And
go.
then three, that's
Yeah.
how I started. I was like rudimentary special needs. Like I just didn't, I started from nothing. I had no training. I had no skills. All I had was this raw grit energy that was bound up in my body that I
Yeah.
needed to
Yeah.
express.
I have to do something. Yeah.
I had to do something exactly. And so anyway, that's how I started. So I was running. And then
Okay.
I then one of my friends said, "Hey, why don't we sign up for a 5K?" And I'm like, "Oh my god, okay." So I did a 5K. It took me like 45 minutes, and I was so proud. I couldn't believe I did it. And then actually the next race was a half a marathon, which I trained several months before I did a
Sure.
half. And then I did dozens of half a marathons. And then I did two full marathons back to back. That's how,
Wow.
and I dedicated about 8 years into running. I really enjoyed it. I did, some training like Hal Higdon and some
Okay.
training programs, but I just knew if I could if I could run a marathon, I could definitely, probably do CrossFit, you
Okay.
know.
Yeah. That's yeah. Right. Now, in that, you said you did 8 years of about
Yeah,
eight
about
years of running. So how did that impact your day to day life from not doing anything to just running? Now, we're not talking about. We'll get into the benefits of CrossFit and all that kind of stuff later, but just being active at that level, did you notice any changes in how that impacted your everyday life?
when you're raising kids. I was a single parent.
Hmm.
I was so zoned out of my body. I had no idea. I was just like, I got 15 minutes. How can I maximize this 15 minutes? There were so many benefits that I got from running. I mean,
Yeah.
like I didn't have proper shoes. You know the story, right? I was a
Hmm.
single mother. I had two kids playing hockey, so and the budget was really tight. So I just made do with what I had. Like I just made do what I had. I finally one time I saved up enough money and I bought a treadmill, a used treadmill online, or from a friend of mine who was using her treadmill as a place to put her clothes. So I would say to my kids, okay, if it was raining or something, I couldn't get out, I had this in my little condo, I had it in the middle of my living room, and I would draw a line. I said, okay, this is my time. Do not cross this line. This is my running time. And I would run on a treadmill if I wasn't able to get out. So
Right.
I, what I would do is I would get up early. Once my kids got old enough, I was able to leave them by themselves. So I would get
Yeah.
up at 3 o'clock or 3:30, 4 o'clock, and I'd do a run.
Okay.
And then I building. So it really I mean, once I got past oh, I'm really doing this. And then you get into the zone when you're getting into a 10-mile run for a training run. Okay.
Yeah.
You get to that zone. And I remember I probably started around 5K or somewhere 6K. And then the tears. I,
Mm.
I couldn't, I couldn't turn it off. I was so busy and so not able to like just functioning right as a
Hmm.
mother. go, 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 and working and going. That was my time where I could just take, that's my time, and that I could feel that I am doing not what I want, but I'm by baby steps. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm doing with what the amount of time and the means and the financial means I'm able to do what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So 2016, I qualified for the Granite Games in last place. Okay, I was the last one,
Yep.
and everybody's like, you placed last. And I'm like, yeah, last place is better than no place.
Right.
That's what I would say. I remember, yeah. So I always took those as a win. Now I had I had a lot of around me, I would say, a lot of positive reinforcement, right? Like, or I had a lot of self-talk. People would say, well, do you have a vision board? I never had any of that stuff. But you know what I started doing? I said, okay, I'm not going to cut my hair until I make CrossFit Games. And
Okay.
I had super, super short hair, like
Hmm.
real, like a Karen cut. Okay, really short, shaved on the back. And by the time I got to the games, my hair was down to here.
Wow.
And
Wow.
when I first said, okay, I want to go to the games, I was like 60 pounds overweight. My
Yeah.
coach Alex Possum, I absolutely love him, CrossFit Mississauga. He was the one that changed my life. I said, so realistically, Alex, like, how long is it going to take me? He goes, really, Rob? Really? Like, look at you. And I said, yeah. I said, how long? He said, it's going to take you 10 years. I said, okay. I said, okay. Now, when I got to Alex in CrossFit, I did a lot of my beginning, the first couple of years of CrossFit, first 2 or 3, maybe 4 years was all personal training. And I'll
Okay.
tell you what, I made a sacrifice financially. I invested in my own health
Hmm.
because now I got an opportunity to be with really good coaches, which I never had before.
Yeah.
And like in hockey, I'm going to take a knee and I'm going to do exactly what the coach told me. And that's exactly what I did. I
Yeah.
did
We,
exactly
we
what I was
we call
told.
that the beginner mindset. You just
Yeah.
go in with an open mind and just
I,
whatever, just
oh, yes.
take it at the word. This is what they said to do. That's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to overthink it. I'm not going to try to
Yeah.
overanalyze it. Just they
No.
said do this. That's what I'm doing, and just keep repeating that process.
Yeah. Life handed me a lot of grit,
Hmm.
in
What does that word mean to you?
oh God, it's there's I could use that, like, it's raw, it's dirty, it's real, it's authentic,
Hmm.
it's no makeup,
Hmm.
messy hair, um, it's classy,
Mm,
it's voluptuous.
okay.
It does all those things.
Yeah.
It's so hard to describe because the grit, I've had an opportunity to watch other athletes get it. Now, when I say get it, I mean, does it mean that they're going to the games? A couple of them have, but you know what, how rare that is. But
Right.
when they get the first pull up, it's when they are able to do a toes to bar,
Yeah.
and but then string them together, getting the lats go.
Yep.
Because we all do that little swing at the bottom. Like, so again, I go back to, I was so I had all the ingredients in the grit. I
Hmm.
just coach,
I think
right?
that's a really great comment you just had there. I had all the ingredients in the grit. That's the one thing that I see over and over and over again is it doesn't matter where you are, what you're
Mhm.
going through, what you're learning, what you've accomplished. The minute you stop, it's all gone,
Exactly.
right? So having the grit to just keep going, even if you don't feel like you're making
Oh, yes.
progress, just the fact that
Ye
you're taking another step is
yes.
progress,
Oh, yes.
right?
Yes.
And you're
And
talking about a 10-year journey, right?
yeah,
My journey was just to the games, right? My journey was similar just from a health perspective. It took me 8 years to figure my stuff out,
see?
before I figured out what I needed to be doing. So
But
it's not an overnight thing.
it's not, but when you got to the games after 8 years of failing forward, see, I only competed twice in my life.
Mhm.
twice. I went to the Granite Games. I know I did all the opens and stuff, obviously,
Right,
right? But
right.
where I was in a live situation was the Granite Games and the CrossFit Games. Now, when I went to the CrossFit Games, I had one person come with me, which Marcy Yeager. This woman is an angel. Okay, she's an angel. She took me through the games and was there for me, my assistant, like my assistant.
Mhm,
I don't have done it without her. Um, but when I got there, I would like the grit and all the work and all the setbacks, because there was lots of setbacks in that 10 years. I got there and I wasn't nervous.
mm,
I Daryl, I was not nervous at all. I actually was levitating around. I felt like Cinderella, when I was
mhm.
getting gear, right? All the new gear. I was okay, I'm gonna get emotional. It was, I have to say, it was the best experience in my entire life for myself. Like
Yeah.
a- as a woman, to do something for myself, to prove to myself that I came from nothing and I made it to I
That's
didn't
awesome.
have I didn't come from another sport. And I started in the middle of menopause, sweating like a pig. And every time I do a double under, I'm pissing myself, right? I'm like,
Yeah,
"Hey," you know what
yeah,
I'm saying? Like, and I'm going to the games, and I did. But the help of Marcy, and there's all these really key people that encouraged me and gave me even more to believe in myself. And I don't know too many athletes. I don't know. Like, I was a rookie athlete at the games, and I made the top 10. That's pretty damn good. I'm
that's
really
really good. I don't know if people understand when we talk about the games and the level of competition that we're talking about. There
I
are just to give people a little bit of background on what the games are. So, the games are like the NFL. It's like the Super Bowl versus backyard football.
mm,
Right? That's what we're talking about when it comes to the sport of fitness, and that's what we're talking about when we talk about the CrossFit and the game. So there's CrossFit that you see in your neighborhood, the CrossFit gyms that people go to try to improve their health and fitness, quality of life. But then there's that level of competition that starts every year. It is thousands of people all over the world who are competing for a percentage of those people to go to perform at the games, which again is like the Super Bowl.
yes.
And there are, what is it, 15,000 CrossFit gyms in the world
Oh,
right now, something like that.
we're around
And
that.
every year, if you assume the average membership at a CrossFit gym is 150 to 100,
About
about 150 people,
a
right? We're talking a lot of people that are
lot of
going
people.
through this process. And, there's what, 40 people per bracket that make it to the game, something like that. Might even be
And
less now. I
mas-
think they dropped it down last year.
yeah, now in the masters and the teens, it's down to 10. It's the
Yeah,
top
down to
10.
10. So 10 people in the world that
Mm,
get to go. So, I
and
mean, that is
20 as well.
crazy to think that you got to that point.
Well, it's not crazy because I did the work. See,
Ooh, I love it. Say that again. Why is it not crazy?
it wasn't crazy because I did what I was
That's
told.
awesome. When you do the
Okay.
work, nothing right, you set the expectation for yourself, put the effort in.
Well, my expectation and my vision board was growing my hair, as I was telling you. So I don't
Well, but
need.
I mean, you were doing this whole thing because you wanted to get to the games,
I
right?
wanted to
So
get.
that was the vision you saw. I'm gonna be at the games. This is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna
Yeah.
make this happen. And that's what you worked for. There's 2 things that I think just hearing that part of your story brought to my mind. The first one is the perspective of number 1, the difficulty a lot of people have setting a goal just to improve their life, much less getting to having a goal like you had of making it to the CrossFit Games.
Mm-hmm.
And understanding that the work that goes into what you did, if anybody thinks, if you're listening to this and you're like, I am struggling so hard to just find 10 minutes a day to do some kind of movement, or
Mm-hmm.
I'm finding it so hard to just prepare my food and plan out my food for the week. This is such a challenge. I don't think I can do it. Understanding that the level of your goal determines the challenges you face to reach it.
Yes.
So if you want to make things, and I hate to use this word, easier, right? It's not that the things get easier, but your uh, determination to make them happen raises
Oh yeah.
along with the level of your goal. So the more bold the goal, the more the things that you want to do to get there become less of a challenge, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and then the smaller your world gets, which is all totally for me, it was worth everything. My world really shrunk,
Oh, I
and
like that. That's good.
it did, and I just it was like tunnel vision, right? I just tunnel vision. I had the luxury, okay, so I'm retired now. I don't work the way I did when I was young, and that caused havoc. And part of the reason why my the journey of the nutrition point part of CrossFit. I mean, if Alex told me that I needed to eat rusty nails every morning for breakfast, I honest to God,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
drink eggs, no problem, like Rocky style, no problem. Like I got that mentality. Once it's like a switch.
hmm
You know, it's
hmm That's another really good thing I have to commend you on in the process is I don't know how many people I've worked with as clients over the past 10 plus years who pay me money, spend time listening to what I have to say, and then completely ignore what I'm telling them, right? So kudos to you to actually, take what your coach is saying to heart and follow the advice and trust the process. So that's
I've,
fantastic for you.
I've had several different coaches over the years too.
Yeah.
Like I don't think you ever really outgrow. It's just circumstances, changes, and stuff. And so I've had well, all the coaches I've had, they've been amazing.
Mhm.
Um, some of them conflict of interest or whatever. It's, I when I see it now, it was only propelling me forward.
Yeah.
So, and then I was able to, hook up with some really great chiropractors and then nutritionists, all that stuff. It led me, and then I would take more courses, and I thought I knew a lot about nutrition until I got to in 2018 when I got really sick.
Yeah.
I really, like I said, the focus, my derailment off my path now was the food, right?
Right. That's where a lot of people were. That's how I started. I started with the fitness and CrossFit and then realized, wait, I got to a point, but
Yes.
now there's something I'm missing. What's that thing missing? In the process of you taking this time to learn CrossFit, get started, get ready for the games, do all the things. Did you ever, because this is a common thing that I see, did you ever have a situation where you had to step back, relearn something, and start over again?
Oh, many times.
What is that thought process? How did you handle that process? Because I have clients and people that I work with all the time who are like get frustrated when they have an injury and then they have to take a step back and start over, right? Or it's I have to learn how to do something correctly because I've been doing it wrong, and now I have to learn the mechanics and learn how my body moves and learn how to do it properly at a lighter weight or no weight at all.
Well, what the label that works for me is I'm failing forward. That's it.
Oh, I
Like,
love it. Yeah.
God, I looked at Alex eyeball to eyeball. I said, "Listen, Alex, this is like 6 weeks into CrossFit. I'm,
Mm.
sweating like a pig. It's -20 outside, and I got the windows open because I'm sweating so much. And everyone's like, 'You're freezing us out.' And I'm like, 'I'm having a hot flash.' Most people that say, "Oh, I'd love to go to the games." I mean, even though I'm sure hundreds of other people said that to him as well. But I was
Sure.
really like, before I open my mouth, I'm like, "What is it going to take for me to go to the games? What's it going to take, Alex? I'm going. I'm going to the. I'm going to the games. That's it. Now, how can I get there? That's
Mhm.
it." And
Mhm.
so I mean, I've had shoulder surgery. We've had deaths in my family and in my husband's family, and kids and all kinds of stuff going on. It's the focus. See, i I have laser focus, and I don't know if it's genetic or where it came from, but when I zone in, and that's it. And so whatever it takes. So I'm going to be aging up.
Yeah, I know. That's the best feeling, right? When you get to the new age bracket.
I love aging up, man, because I got the
You're like the
right?
youngin'. You're gonna be the youngin' in the group.
I'm gonna be the young one. I'm going to be the spring chicken and the old and the whole
Yeah.
hen.
So, okay, so you got sick in 2018. What happened
Or-
there?
Well, as I said, well, the sickness came, which there's so many things. Oh my God! Like, where do I start? So in 2011, when I started CrossFit, let me just go back there.
Yeah,
My best friend got sick with lung cancer. Okay, and I made a decision that I would do everything I can to look after her. All my time now was going to be kids, work, and her.
right.
And so I stopped running. And in that time, I found spots on my breasts, okay, that were, well, I know what they are now. It was oxalates, okay, but
Okay.
I thought they thought maybe it was cancer. So I went to a cancer specialist. She says, well, you should probably get them out, the spots out. So I had them out, removed.
Mhm.
But this was all during my friend passing away. So I didn't tell her I had these spots. I
Yeah,
didn't. And she passed away. And then once she passed away, my surgeon said to me, I said, so when can I start working out again? She said, well, another 3 months because of the scars. So, and how I ended up at CrossFit was I had this friend came up to me after she passed away. I was really sad. And he's looked at me and he says, Rob, he says, you got to do CrossFit. That's all he said to me.
I think everybody's introduction is like that. It's like, "You
He
gotta
said,
do this. Let's
you
go. You're coming with me."
he said, Robbie, you're a savage. You got to do CrossFit. Because I was now like, okay, I didn't want to run anymore. And it's just another chapter. And I'm like, it's time for change. And so that's how I started doing CrossFit. And, now, and I mean, I never listened to Rage Against the Machine or any of this really hardcore music. Like the old gym that I went to at CrossFit Mississauga was really old school. There was
Yeah.
pipes, was our bars, it was the piping up on the ceiling
Mhm.
as well.
Mhm.
It was dirty and it was the environment that I needed to be in. Like I walked in, I'm like, oh, I don't know if I belong here, but I gave it an opportunity and I was hooked. But I didn't realize that weightlifting was part of CrossFit,
Yeah.
you know, and I found that again. And that was something that like, I actually, really thrived in the CrossFit, at the games.
Let's Yeah, no, I think that's a good thing too, is a lot of people don't realize a lot of things that are part of CrossFit because, I mean, CrossFit is actually like everything.
It's
So,
everything.
if there's anything that
Oh,
you're doing for fitness, on some level, you're also doing CrossFit, right? My background is CrossFit. I got started with
yeah.
CrossFit. I owned a gym. I've been doing it for God knows how long.
Yes.
Um, what here's an I've never asked a games athlete. This is the first time I get to ask a games
Oh,
athlete this question. What does CrossFit mean to you?
well, it saved my life.
Mm,
Um, yeah, like I was going through menopause, all this really crazy time when I started CrossFit.
mhm,
And especially women, I know that if there's women out there that are either entering into menopause and you're not crazy, you're not crazy. Um, but a lot of stuff comes up in menopause, like from past, emotions and stuff. And for me, this was the time in my life, my parents were aging and getting really sick. And so, I was going back and forth looking after my parents. So there's a lot of mental and emotional stuff going on with women and men too, for sure.
mhm,
But with the hormone changes in women, it can be a little it can be a little trippy. Um, and so as I got more into CrossFit, I started to see how, wow, this is a huge, huge, huge mind. I fell into a pot of gold not knowing the benefits.
mhm,
Here I am now, in this pit, and I got an opportunity to learn how to look after myself
ooh, yeah.
mental through movement. So when I would now I'm listening to Rage Against the Machine in a different light. I like the that all that was replaced with, well, let me see if I could do, maybe today I'll be able to do a pull up with the green band instead of the black one,
Yeah, yeah,
right? I'm going to back up a little bit. When I started CrossFit too, one of the things I was involved in helping others with addictions. Okay,
Mhm.
I got down to, early on into CrossFit journey. I got invited down to California to talk with a really cool guy named Ron, who was he was involved in treatment centers, and he was taking his patients that were people that were detoxing and suffering from trauma. He would take their patients, in their if they were in treatment for 30 days or whatever, during the day when CrossFit gyms weren't busy, they would take their patients and they would do basic stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
A lot from those people. So I actually owned a gym as well. And one of the reasons why I actually owned a gym was I wanted to implement this program. It's called Integrated Recovery. It's flourished into something different now, which is wonderful. Um, and what we do is we take these addicts, or you can call, people that had habitual issues,
Mhm.
okay, or mental health issues. They'd be all out smoking. I say, okay, finish your cigarettes. Come on in here. We're going to just have a little circle up for a minute, and
Yep.
then we're going to move. And I'm not talking about doing snatching or anything. I'm talking
Right.
about getting up, sitting up, getting up off the floor and getting down,
Just
taking
basic stuff. Yeah, yeah.
basic. And I said, so what we're going to do today is we're going to just talk about a goal. What goal do you have today? Okay, so Chris says he wants to smoke 18 cigarettes instead of 19. Today,
Right.
his goal is smoke less.
Yeah.
So that's basically it.
Mhm.
Key right there. So any setback, it's okay. So I'm only going to do this amount today, but and then eventually those habits start to go away. Like I've seen people's lives transform, that were, people that were living on the streets or had no job, no family, no nothing,
Yeah.
and come from, on the streets,
What
start CrossFit. I've
Yeah,
witnessed it many
yeah,
times,
yeah.
and seeing people go back to school, go back and get their university degree, go back and have a friendship and a family, go back and have a relationship with their
Yeah,
family and
yeah.
start their own family. Like, it's really incredible. I've seen this in CrossFit.
Yeah, I absolutely, and same here, and it's a
You
story you
know?
hear over and over and over again.
So you asked me a question, what is CrossFit to me? I can't, it's very difficult because for me, like I said, it's always this gene inside of my body, this athleticism and this striving to be a better, how can I make it better? And it's always been there. And CrossFit, I'm telling you, out of any of the things, I've done a lot of things too. And I've
Mhm.
traveled, seen lots. But CrossFit is definitely the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. The
But it's
most
also probably one of the most rewarding things
and
you've ever
it's
done.
the most rewarding. It
Yeah.
is the most rewarding. And when I went to the games, I got to share that with 20 other women.
Mhm.
And we're like, kids. It was
Yeah.
really it was so wonderful to be in that circle that I worked I worked for that circle, and I was
Right.
a part of the circle, and nobody could ever take that
Let's
from me.
let's continue talking about that because that's another aspect that, not to make this episode an advertisement for CrossFit, but, I think both of us, CrossFit has a big place in our hearts and a big place in how we view the world because of the things we've learned and experienced through being a part of the CrossFit community.
Mhm.
Um, we've talked about the challenges and the process of improving yourself by facing challenges going through that process, right? That's a great thing. CrossFit provides a structure for overcoming challenges. That's
Mhm.
one aspect. We've talked about having a coach, following a framework, trusting the process, and having guidance along the way. Those are
Yes.
two huge aspects of being part of a CrossFit organization or part of the CrossFit community. But then the third one is the community itself. How has being part of the CrossFit community at your gym, or because you've been at the games, you've been exposed to CrossFit on a much larger scale. How has
Yes.
that impacted your journey?
Well, like I said, when I first started CrossFit, I was in the community. We'd have barbecues, we'd have
Mhm.
parties. I really, really think, if you're just looking for a community, you don't have to be a games athlete. That's the thing. Everybody thinks, oh, I can't do CrossFit because look at you. Oh, and it's
Yes.
the truth. You're talking about, you're talking about 1% of the population
Yep.
that might have few screws loose.
Oh, definitely. There's no might about it. You all are crazy.
So, you're talking about balanced people that live balanced lives. For those balanced people, it's the perfect way. Think about it. Their kids are going, they're bringing, sometimes they bring their dogs,
Yeah.
you know, they sit and they chat afterwards. What I love about CrossFit is it's a very wide path
Mhm.
for people of all walks of life,
Mhm.
really, that can join in on improving your life in whatever way you want to improve. So maybe you don't want to go to the games. Maybe you just, oh man, you know what? I want to climb a rope by the time I'm 50 years old. It's like a lifelong dream, or you just didn't know you had it. You've seen it. You're like, okay, I want to do that.
Yeah.
But it's so contagious. Like, that's what it is, especially when you see the new people coming in. There's nothing more. I was in Newfoundland a couple of weeks ago, Gander, Newfoundland, and there's a new gym that just opened up there called CrossFit YQX.
Okay.
Uh, and I went into this gym, and they're all new people.
That's awesome.
I was like a kid in a candy store. I got to watch these people. And I'm saying, okay, Katie, come on, you got 5 more pounds you can put on there. She goes, I'm not doing that. I said, put another 5 pounds on.
Yeah, you can do it.
I know you. I mean, I know I've done many certs, right? I've done many certs in weightlifting, and I can watch how people move, and I know
Mhm.
she can. And so it's just like, and that feeling, I remember laying on the floor when I thought I couldn't do whatever Alex was there telling me, get up off the floor and do it again. And I remember laying on the floor and sobbing, just going, I can't believe I did it. Like, I mean, these health issues that I have, I mean, this is a
Yeah,
lot of,
it's a
okay,
lot of stuff.
all caused by my inability to listen.
Wow.
That's why when I got to cross, it's like, okay, I'm going to do whatever they tell me, because I'm not getting anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, my way is not working. It's just not. I need structure. I need guidance. I need the right coaching, because my goals are different than somebody else's.
Somebody
And
else. Yeah, how did that go? Let's segueing into the nutrition conversation. That process of you finding your path and finding what works for you. How did you go from veganism, vegetarian, paleo to now where you're mostly whole foods, animal based in what you're doing? What was that process like?
well, when I was in my 20s, I became vegan, and the reason I became vegan is my family were Seventh-day Adventists, or became,
Okay.
which is the Ellen White movement.
Hmm.
If you go into the history of veganism here in North America, it all started with the Seventh-day Adventist Church in
Right.
the 18. So I got into all of that. And then as I got into my early 30s, now I came out of the, I came, I mean, I know I was malnutrition when as I was a child and got into older, I mean, you think about anybody now, you look back, you think in this, 60s, 70s, and 80s, people were, I wasn't breastfed. This is the era where people didn't breastfeed, right?
Hmm.
So out of the gate, I didn't have, so nutrition, that's the reason why nutrition. I was in and out of the hospital when I was a kid so many times. So many intravenous, my poor arms, my veins, like, because I was in the hospital and had IVs, and they had big needles for a baby, for a
Yeah.
little child. Veins were ruined. But so, that's the reason why I was always interested in nutrition. By the time I was in my mid 30s, I was taking Celebrex, which is an anti-inflammatory,
Hmm.
maximum dosage, which is 400 milligrams a day. I was
Wow.
taking that until I was in my. I took that for 20 years, and then I woke up one day and I go, "Where the hell did my eyebrows go? The hell?" I'm like, I don't have any like hair. I just like, what's going on? I got my thyroid tested, my thyroid, hypothyroidism, like
Yep.
things now I know because of what I learned. And also I went to university. I studied funeral services in university, believe it or not. And I had to study how dead tissue reacts to environment,
Mm.
molecular structures down to, all chemical reactions, blah, blah, blah. So when I started reading this and started listening to what, about oxalates and stuff, I'm going, wait a minute. And I'm going, what the hell? I was doing all this. Now, this file that I have here all makes sense. breast cancer, thyroid, pituitary issues,
Mhm.
okay? Severe, severe IBS, like severe.
I know we can have that conversation for a while. Yeah, I've been there, done that.
Look,
So how did you take all of that information and then say, "Okay, veganism isn't working for me." You got introduced to CrossFit, that's where you heard about paleo,
started doing
and then that worked. I'm sure that you saw some changes
paleo
there.
immediately. Like
Yeah,
when I first started CrossFit, I dropped a lot of weight. Then, now I'm doing paleo. So I go down, but then I start to go back up again. Now,
sure.
I remember I was in menopause, so my hormones, everything's not working properly.
Yep.
So maybe somebody in their 20s maybe wouldn't have started to gain weight the way I did. So,
Mhm.
because lost, and then I started creeping up and it wasn't going away.
Yeah,
I'm going, what the fuck? I'm eating everything I'm supposed to be measuring everything, and I'm getting bigger.
yeah. Now,
I,
some of that was probably muscle too, right? Now that your body's getting more protein and you're
yes,
moving your body, you're moving more weight, you're doing some things there.
I'm doing those things, but my protein intake wasn't enough. I know that now.
Okay.
I know
Which is
that
probably that's, like, the most common
huge.
thing that we deal with is people not getting enough protein.
I'm thinking I can eat a sweet potato, so I can eat a sweet potato this size, or I can eat a sweet potato this size.
Sure.
The sweet potato, okay?
Right, right, right. Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I would do that, and so, but again, I was playing with hormones and really, like, I was struggling with. I know now because I was estrogen dominant. I couldn't lose the
Yeah.
weight.
I did a case study a couple of years with a bunch of women who were peri and postmenopausal. I
Hmm.
mostly work with women who are over 40, so menopause is an ongoing topic. There is
Patient
this
man.
perception there say again?
You're a patient man.
There is a perception, and a lot of doctors and influencers, I think, push this agenda. I don't know if it's an agenda, push this message that if you're going through menopause, you have to take it easy because your body's changing. Like, chill out. You shouldn't do more than walk. Don't exercise too hard. Take your time. Fasting's a great thing. All these things, and I look at it as like just let's take the caveman, so the paleo thought process, right? The ancestral thing, right? There was no. I have a hard time thinking that our ancestors were worried about taking it easy if they were going through this change when there's animals chasing them, when they have to go gather, when they have to go hunt, when they have to live and survive. There isn't,
Well,
"Hey, guys, hey, the wilds of where we live, you all need to chill out right now because I'm going through menopause." Like, it doesn't work that way. Life happens, you have to be ready to handle it. So, if
mhm,
you're not putting yourself in a situation where you can handle those things, then you're
mhm.
setting yourself up for failure.
Oh
Is
yeah.
that kinda what you've seen?
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, when it comes to like ancestral living is really is it's really is something I've evolved. Like I've been doing carnivore animal based. So I did strict. I started with strict and like
Mhm,
raw
mhm.
because I was sick. I wouldn't suggest everybody do that, but that's
Yeah.
what I do. Um, but just the awareness of what you're putting in your body. Like now, I mean, more everything I'm doing now is more intuitive. I know if I don't have enough fat, I can see the evidence the next
Mhm.
day and feel it, believe it or not. You can,
Yeah.
I need to add more fat. Oh, maybe I had a little too much fat, whatever. But I'm so in tune with my body now. So when I think back to all the abuse that I did to my body
Mhm,
unknowingly,
mhm.
because I had the right information, I know I wouldn't have done these things,
Yeah.
right? That I was misled. But the misleading, it just again is like failing forward, right? I'm very fortunate that even though I had some life-threatening issues, and I had several many times, um, it just made me stronger, believe it or not. I don't know how to tell you other than that.
Mhm,
Like again, when I get back to, when I switched over to carnivore, which was in 2019, like 2018, I went to Everest and I got really sick, ended up with a C. diff,
mhm.
come back to Canada, in and out of the hospital for a month or two, and then seeing this specialist, she says, you got to stop eating vegetables. And I said, listen, honey, oh, Jesus. Like, what an asshole I was. Okay. Like, you got a few nutrition courses and I believe that juicing and all this shit's great. And I'm telling her she don't know what she's talking about. And she's the
Right.
one, with my colitis and IBS, severe IBS stuff. And I'm telling her she don't know what she's talking about. I suffered for 9 months because I wouldn't listen to her.
Mm,
Right. And it
okay.
started happening. My attacks got longer and the duration in between got shorter. So now I'm on the toilet most of the
A
time.
lot.
And
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
in the toilet. Right. And I get to the gym. Oh man. Anyway, I got a few stories about the gym and
Yeah. I think we probably could share stories on that.
oh, I gotta go to the bathroom right
Yeah.
now.
You're in the middle of a death by burpees or something. You're like, whoop, I'll be right back. I
Oh,
gotta go. Yeah.
you burpees like that. It's just okay, it is what it is, right? I mean, when
Yeah.
I was trying to do double unders, right? I had no
Hmm.
control over that or just piss all over the place. I'm like, fuck it. I'm sorry. Like I want to learn how to do double unders more than embarrassed.
Yeah.
It's really
Sure. Sure.
but
So
yeah,
right now you're doing mostly carnivore? You just mostly eat meat?
I've so this is my fifth year and each year I feel more satiated. It's like
Yeah.
I've had lots of oxalate dumpings over the years. I
Yep.
actually had a really big, massive dump just not that long ago in between my toes.
Okay.
And Sally Norton just did a big post about that there a few weeks ago. And I'm like, oh my God, I thought I had an athlete's foot. It's not.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's oxalate
Have
dump.
have you noticed so what happened with your experience from a performance basis,
Oh,
athletic performance basis, going from whatever even going from paleo? Because I was very similar. I was more, paleo, but more Whole30, a little bit more strict, before I went carnivore, and I noticed it took about 3 to 6 months before my performance and everything just completely turned a corner. It was like a
oh,
whole different world. What was
yeah.
your experience going
Same,
mostly
same,
animal meat?
same, same,
Yeah.
same, but different.
Yeah.
uh, my gains like when I started doing the strict, so like I said I had severe IBS. I'm not recommending anybody do this, just what I made a decision. I took my own health and I went strict line as that meant I ate raw meat at
Mhm.
least once, right, with other
Okay.
things. Water, I did that for 7 months.
Wow.
Completely cured my IBS. I was on a transplant list to do a fecal transplant, and if that didn't work, then maybe the bag on the
Mm.
side.
Yep. Yep.
And the lion diet worked for me 7 months. I can't even begin to tell you the way you feel, feeling satiated all
Mhm.
the time, not having those like I'm not hungry, I gotta eat right now. Like, I don't have those swings anymore. I mean,
Right.
I just told you like I'm going through some issues right now and most people would be like, you got to be on some kind of antidepressants or something. And I'm choosing not that. I'm not going down that road.
Mhm.
Using my diet to guide me through my own personal issues that I have going on. And I can't imagine now adding in antidepressants or there's no way that I could feel this good if I was doing the what others would
What
suggest I
what
do.
everyone's telling us that we should be doing all the time, right? Yeah.
And the other thing too is learning when to rest, right? Like being
Mm.
see, I never gave my body a rest before. I mean, I trained like really my training went from except when I was sick in 2018 and 2019 and getting that sorted out. I mean, my games training, I mean, I was training hard from say 2016 to 2021,
Yeah.
like 5 days a week, 3 days on, 1 day off, 2 days
Yep.
on.
Yep.
Same, I did that year in and year out. And so now I'm going through a rest phase right now. I'm allowing my body to completely relax.
Mhm.
I'm working with a chiropractor doing acupuncture and acupressure and
Awesome.
needling to get right down because I mean my body was so intense, like it's so intense. I mean, I was
Yeah.
8 that no problem like and very hard to work on if you're trying to work through my body. So
Right.
I've changed my strategy. And I believe when I do go back, and if I decide to go back and qualify for the games again, then it'll be a whole different, I'll be a whole
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
animal.
Be an animal. You'll be an animal. Awesome.
So I
Well,
was just, well, what is this here? This, you talk about ancestry. So my ancestry, I have Inuit ancestry. It's my
mhm.
heritage. And so eating raw meat, like I'm part Inuit, and that's part of the lifestyle.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
I, not only did I learn, I've been learning about my culture for a long, long time, but I've embraced my culture even more as proud Indigenous CrossFit athlete.
That's awesome. How
Oh,
do people follow you or find you, Robbie, if they wanna keep
oh
tabs on your story and things that you're doing and just watch you
yeah.
be an animal in the gym?
I have an Instagram account, and
Yeah.
it's Moyles, and that's it. But that's the best way. And I got lots of different topics. I'm not just about CrossFit. I'm not just about nutrition. There's lots of things that I like to share because I'm not just a CrossFit athlete.
Sure.
And so
Sure.
the difference, right, is I've learned and matured enough to know that my whole world is not CrossFit. It's part of my life. And I'm enriched by CrossFit and the associations I've met with CrossFit. And all those people are wonderful. I've met some incredible people in the community level and the basic level and all the way up to the top of the pile.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
Well,
it's, yeah, I'd love to keep talking
thank you.
because,
No, thank you very
oh,
much for sharing your story. I think we could probably keep going on other different
yeah,
things, and maybe we'll have you on another time and talk about some different aspects
yeah.
of other things that you're working on and dealing with. But
It,
I think your
it,
story is very relevant to my clients and my listeners, and I think it'll help a lot of people out. So thank you
yeah.
very much.
Any questions, reach out.
We'll do. Thank you.
Okay. God bless. Thank you.